Imagine you're inside a watertight stadium with a magic water dropper.
At 12 noon, it drops 1 drop. At 12:01, 2 drops. 12:02, 4 drops. And so on, doubling each minute. How long have you got until you're underwater?
Seriously, stop here and think about it. Once I understood this riddle, it completely rewired my understanding of Bitcoin. And here's the thing, human brains are simply not designed to grasp this concept, which is exactly why most people think Bitcoin's sketchy. When it finally clicked for me, Bitcoin critics suddenly sounded like people in 1995 saying, email will never replace fax machines. So seriously, let me know, what was your guess? Was it months, days, hours? The answer is 12:50. Just 50 minutes later, you'd be holding your breath. But here's the kicker. At what time would the stadium be just 3% full, with only a few puddles visible? 12:45. At 12:44, you'd be wondering why I trapped you there for 44 minutes of absolutely nothing. At 12:45, you might spot some puddles if you had good eyesight. Then bam! 5 minutes later, you're underwater. This is exponential growth. And it's the single most important concept for understanding Bitcoin that nobody talks about. And no, I'm not talking about number go up here. Here's why this matters. There are actually 3 ways this exponential pattern makes Bitcoin completely misunderstood. Bitcoin has something called the halving that happens every 4 years, roughly. Think of it like this. Imagine Pokemon cards where only ever 21 million Charizards will ever exist. At first, stores get 50 new Charizards every 10 minutes. Then one day, bam, they only get 25 new ones. 4 years later, just 12.5, then 6.25. This creates what's called a stock to flow ratio, comparing how many exist to how many new ones there are being made. Gold has a stock to flow ratio of about 62 years. Silver's is 22. Bitcoin's ratio is already around 120. But here's what's mind-blowing. In 2028, it jumps to 240, then 480 in 2032. It doubles every 4 years automatically, following that same exponential pattern from our stadium, until eventually it looks like this. But there's another doubling effect most people miss. Ever heard of Moore's Law? It's this principle some dude discovered in the 60s that showed computers get twice as powerful about every year and a half. This is why your smartphone today has more computing power than all of NASA had during the moon landing. Here's why this matters for Bitcoin. The computers that run Bitcoin, called miners, keep getting more powerful and efficient, doubling again and again. Some people panic and say, oh no, these Bitcoin computers will use up the electricity in the whole world. But they're missing the exponential efficiency gains. Technology doesn't just get more powerful, it gets more efficient too. Like how your new phone probably has better battery life than your old one, even though it can do way more stuff. This is why many experts believe Bitcoin's energy consumption will eventually peak and could even decline. Another exponential curve people can't see coming. Now, here's the most mind-blowing exponential number of all. Bitcoin's security system uses something called Secure Hash Algorithm 256. The 256 means there are 2 to the power of 256 possible combinations. But what does that actually mean? Well, there are about 10 to the power of 80 atoms in the entire universe. 2 to the power of 56 is roughly 10 to the power of 77. So there's almost as many combinations as there are atoms in the universe. Just think how many atoms there are in your fingernail. The numbers are so large, they just become meaningless. But here's how someone explained it to me. Imagine trying to find a specific grain of sand on all the beaches on Earth. Except that's still way too easy compared to breaking Bitcoin security. By the way, this same cryptographic security protects nuclear weapons, military communications, and your online banking. If SHA-256 could be broken, we'd have much bigger problems than Bitcoin. This is exponential math at its most extreme, and exactly why our brains can't process how secure Bitcoin actually is. So let's address what you're probably thinking now. Am I too late to Bitcoin? I get it. When you see Bitcoin has gone from less than a penny to over $100,000, it feels like you've missed the boat. But here's the thing. People thought the same when the price was $100, $1,000, or even $30,000. Most people are terrible at understanding what comes next with exponential growth. Remember our stadium? Most people think we're at 1249, with water up to our knees. But in reality, we might not even be near 1244 with just a few drops on the field. Let me show you what I mean. Bitcoin has grown at roughly 100% per year on average over a decade. Now, I don't expect that exact rate to continue forever. That would be unrealistic. So let's get conservative. What if Bitcoin only grows at 25% per year for the next 20 years? $10,000 invested today would become $867,000 in 20 years. Compare that to the stock market's historical 10% average, the same $10,000 becomes $67,300. That's an $800,000 difference, being conservative. When critics say Bitcoin can't be valuable, has no real world use case, or uses too much energy, they're missing all three exponential patterns. They can't see the scarcity explosion coming. They don't understand the efficiency revolution, and they can't grasp the security universe. They're like someone seeing a tiny puddle at the top of a stadium, not realizing they'll be underwater in minutes. This isn't about number goes up. It's about understanding that we're still in the early stages of the most profound monetary innovation in human history. Powered by exponential math, our brains simply can't process. No money in history has ever had these three exponential properties, ever. So here's what I want you to take away. Our brains can't process exponential growth. The doubling effect, whether in a stadium full of water or Bitcoin scarcity, it's all the same mathematical principle that we completely miss. Once you truly grasp this concept, you'll never look at Bitcoin the same way again. But if you don't understand what makes Bitcoin truly special beyond this scarcity model, knowing about exponential growth is pointless. That's why you need to watch my next video where I'll explain the 5 simple rules that make Bitcoin unstoppable. Once you learn these rules, you'll be able to remember them easily and explain Bitcoin to others on the fly. If you've ever felt confused about what Bitcoin really is, or wondered why some people are obsessed with it while others dismiss it, you can't afford to miss this one.